Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Under the Bottom Rope with your host, the podcaster who cuts meat, and the meat cutter who puts asses in the seats, the big bad Boo Bear. So, I think the big thing right now, and obviously you guys can all see why I've jumped on and done a quick live broadcast, is because, well, we've all heard that Eric Bischoff has been fired. Yes, I know. For those of you who didn't know, it's not some crazy kayfabe news story. This is real. Uh, Tuesday afternoon, Vinnie Mac fired Eric Bischoff. And it's just got me scratching my head, but I did do a little bit of research. I did do some digging. What I've got is that he was fired because the SmackDown's viewership dropped from 3.8 to 2.8 in a week. And he's been there 4 months. And, I can't say that he's been on the executive director or executive producer block for the entire 4 months. I mean, he obviously had to have an assimilation period where he got in and kind of took the reins, started making plays, writing things. So we'll say probably 3.5 months, probably 3 months and a quarter. And so I can't tell you every rating from every SmackDown in the past 3.25 months. And so I can't give you any of that. But in 1 week, they drop 1 million viewers, which is a bad thing. It's a bad thing. But Vinnie Mac loses his shit and just up and fires him. Now, I do understand to an extent why there was such an overreaction. But then again, I mean, shit, this guy is talented. This guy can do his job. Let him do his fucking job. You had a rough fucking week. Yeah, you dropped down 2.8 million, but then if I'm correct from everything I've read, SmackDown's ratings still beat anything on Fox Friday night, and then they compared it to NXT and AEW, and it still beat them too on Wednesday night. Like SmackDown, I was wrong about it. From what I gather, SmackDown was a pretty damn good show last week, except for the main event. I just don't think that it's all Eric's fault, and I think this was a show of strength to Fox. Like, I'm committed to making sure that this deal goes good by whatever means necessary. So you drop 1 million viewers, bam, you're gone. Here comes Bruce. Bruce is going to take over Raw and SmackDown. And like, nothing against Bruce Pritchard, because obviously the guy, he's been doing this for a long time as well. He knows what he's doing, but I know that for the last couple of months, when I've checked on wrestling news and stuff, most of all the news I'm getting is from SmackDown. I don't hear a lot of anything out of Raw. I mean, maybe I'm just overlooking it. You tell me if you're in the chat. If I'm overlooking it. But fact is, Raw doesn't seem like it's. I mean, honestly, doesn't seem like it's on the same level as SmackDown right this minute. But then again, I'm not really watching the product all that fucking much, so I can't really sit there and say I know everything. I'm just going off a third party, biased to an extent opinion. I just think it's bullshit because Eric, he picked up his family, in goddamn Wahoo, Wisconsin, or wherever the fuck he came from, moved him out to Connecticut, and has been working for Vince for 4 months. Wanted to get back into business, wanted to do all this, and he just gets fucked. He just gets fucked. I mean, it's bullshit, in my opinion. I mean, if Vince has any class, he'll hook him up with a free fucking flight back and have his stuff shipped, for him. Because it's not like this was a bad breakup. It's not like Eric was stealing money from the company. Vinnie Mac lost his mind after losing 1 million viewers. And I mean, I can understand to an extent, because people are like, well, I mean, but I mean, still, it's just kind of sudden, kind of crazy. I mean, they've had 2 weeks, I think, of SmackDown on Fox, and bam, it's gone. There were some more details here, and Eric seems to have been a good sport about this. He ended up getting on Twitter after and posted up his fired T-shirt. You know, the FedEx thing he had sent to X-Pac years ago in WCW. He had a T-shirt with the FedEx colors, and it says fired, and I thought that was kind of funny. But there's more to it in the report here. The report also noted that Bischoff never had any authority over the SmackDown creative team like Paul Heyman does over on Monday Night Raw. Sources noted that Bischoff was instructed to mostly observe the team on a week-to-week basis and that he failed to assimilate into the corporate structure of the company. And so that sounds like a cop-out. That sounds like them being able to just say that so they can fire him. I mean, I could see Eric nowadays maybe not being able to quote-unquote assimilate into the corporate structure of the company, end quote, a little bit, because he's a pretty chill guy from what I gather. We're seeing one side of this guy. We listen to podcasts, we do meet and greets. We go to see him at events and shit, and we get Eric Bischoff, the wrestling producer, the wrestling entrepreneur, the genius behind WCW Monday Nitro. And so we don't see that other side. We don't see the corporate Eric. So, I mean, or maybe we do, and we just don't know. But for the sake of argument, we're going to say we don't. And maybe he didn't assimilate well, I do know that I have wrestling fans that I see at work, and SmackDown was always the topic of conversation. And it was, I'd say, 85% good. And it's been 85% good for the last, 2-3 months. So, I mean, it's nothing against Bruce either, because, Bruce has done some good work before. He's had his time where he was, on top of the fucking world, not only in WWE, but he's done work for TNA, and he did really good with them. And he's come back, and I think it's a good call to bring Bruce back. And Eric was, talking about how Bruce has got 40 years experience, and he's the guy that can take over. And because his quote goes as follows on Twitter, other than the fired T-shirt. It says, Pritchard brings nearly 40 years of experience in sports entertainment with an extensive background in character development and creative storytelling. Over the course of his career, Pritchard has served in a variety of roles, including announcer, producer, agent, and on-screen personality. Earlier this year, Pritchard returned to WWE as a member of the company's creative team. So, it's not like, it's some, new person completely, or another, millennial guy who thinks he knows wrestling when he doesn't. Sorry, I think I'm catching something. But no, he knows the business, and I do expect probably some good stuff out of SmackDown with Bruce Pritchard. It's just a little disappointing for Eric to have gotten here with so much buzz, with so much trumpeting from the company, to welcome him in just 3.5 months later to sack his ass, I mean, it's got me scratching my head a little bit, because I don't see how this was a viable and honestly a intelligent move, but I digress. I'm not the big wigs, I don't know. So we'll have to wait and see how SmackDown ends up, and we'll have to see where Eric lands, because, I know that what everybody's thinking right now, what everybody's thinking is, oh, AEW's going to come a calling. He's going to go knocking on AEW's door. Honestly, I don't see it. I mean, I don't see him. I mean, there's a chance, but I see more of him honestly getting out of it completely. I mean, let's talk about this realistically a little bit. I don't think that Eric is sulking, and I don't think his feelings are hurt. I mean, maybe, I don't know, but I mean, I don't think so, at least. But I do think he's probably moderately frustrated about the whole situation. And I mean, wouldn't you? I mean, fuck, anybody would be frustrated. And so I don't see Cody and them, Cody and the Bucks knocking on his door for no insulting reason, just because they're staying away from a creative team. I think they might be interested in using him for on-air talent, but if I'm correct, Bischoff has said he really doesn't want to do the on-air talent shit anymore. So I see Eric as being done. I mean, I see him staying with the Conrad Thompson train and doing the Starcasts and the podcast, and maybe in the future doing a few like, kind of run-in cameos for AEW because it was on TNT, and we all know Eric's connection with TNT and Turner. So I mean, there's a good chance eventually he's going to show up on AEW now that he's a free agent. But I don't see him ever going full-time with All Elite Wrestling. I don't see him becoming a commentator for All Elite Wrestling, making a four-man booth with Tony, Jim Ross, and Excalibur. I don't see him running creative for AEW because I think they pretty much got that well under wraps. Honestly, this is probably going to be it for Eric as far as full-time work on a wrestling company. At least I believe so. It's just an assumption. And it sucks, in my opinion. I mean, Eric has still got years in him. He's still got a lot of creative flow in him. I know that he's never been perfect. There's things he's done wrong in the past. Everybody makes mistakes. He had his fair share in WCW, had his fair share in WWE when he came in the first time and worked as an on-air talent. And I'm sure he's made a few while he's been here for the last, 3.5 months. But I just personally don't believe that it was enough for him to get fired. I think it was a little bit of Vince, throwing his dick around the fox, and seeing the viewership kind of drop. And that is a good reason to be frustrated, especially in this situation right now with AEW and their ratings, so I do understand to an extent, but I don't quite fully understand. I just feel like, maybe they should have got Eric some help or something else. Maybe, could have got Triple H, take a more hands-on role with Eric as far as creative and producing was concerned, or maybe gave Eric a little more of the reins. If Eric is saying that he didn't have as much creative control as Paul Heyman did on Monday Night Raw, then we weren't really seeing all of Eric's full potential. We were getting Eric as a namesake. And that's, now, right this minute, now that I'm thinking about it, as we're going through this conversation, it really does kind of sound like, what if this was just all, hey, we got Bischoff on our creative team. Oh, like, it does kind of sound like that now that I think about it, And we got Bischoff. We got this big name Bischoff, So it could have been just a name thing. It could have been just like, well, we have Eric Bischoff, Pronouns, pal. So who knows? Who knows? So we'll have to see how it goes here in the future. Only time's going to tell how this is going to affect SmackDown, how this is going to affect the wrestling landscape, because any moves right now are affecting the wrestling landscape. I mean, it's just, it feels like the wrestling landscape is so tight right now. There's so much going on. NWA Power, AEW Dynamite, AEW Dark, Monday Night Raw, Friday Night SmackDown, Wednesday Night NXT. You've got NXT Japan opening up soon. You've got NXT UK. I'm sure I'm missing countless promotions that are getting limelight. Ring of Honor, TNA, they're all out there, and it's so tight right this minute. Anything, any move by anybody, and you're feeling it everywhere. Rumors and rumor mills, dirt sheets everywhere are popping up. So, it's really just gonna take some time to figure out where exactly everything's going to fall. So we'll have to wait and see. Obviously, if I get any more news on this, I'll get back on here for another few minutes and we'll talk some. Thanks for showing up if you did. If not, sorry, I missed you. But, yeah, me and Sean will try and be back on soon for another full episode of the World Wrestling Podcast. I'm just trying to get a little more content on here. We've been real busy.